Hey Earthlings!
Hello everybody!
Today we're gonna share the second ego trap, which is continuation of the last week video. So if you haven't checked it, we talked about the spiritual ego trap that many people go through and why it's so important to be aware of those traps, because you might maybe be aware of one and other traps have got you. So today we're gonna share the second one, which is
The all accepting one.
Yeah.
The one who has no desires or wants at all. So this is a person who is identified with accepting everything as it is, being in total surrender to what is. And the tricky thing about this one is that it is kind of tied to a spiritual truth about, or like let's say a spiritual teaching about acceptance and not fighting or resisting reality.
Yeah.
But where this person kind of falls into a trap is where they forget that they actually have also free will.
Yeah, to make a change, and usually become passive to abusive things maybe in their life or abusive things in their society, and become this just love and light, I accept everything. And then when you ask them like, what do you really desire? And then he will be like, yeah, I'm accepting everything. As a result of that, people who have and fall in this trap, they tend to be passive, they tend to be non-achieving, they tend to be not making actually different in society and just like taking in whatever put there in front of them.
And this is masked into spirituality. They usually believe themselves to be more spiritual because they deny their wants and needs, as opposed to someone who says, you know what, I would like to change this in my life, or I would like to do this next. They maybe think of themselves as more spiritual because, or more advanced, let's say, spiritually.
Many times superior
because they don't have any. But I don't believe it's true that you can actually, be in a human form and have no desires desires at all. I mean, even to eat is a desire. Even to choose what you want to eat is a desire. Even to want to go for a walk and breathe, it's a desire. Otherwise we would just die. We would just lay in the bed and never get up and die if we had no desire.
Yeah, it's the opposite spectrum of the people who are like running after desire one after another without really taking the time and the space to really reflect on those desire and see where they're coming from. So this is like the opposite scale of that, where you just like, yeah, everything is okay. And it's very actually harmful for your spiritual growth to be stuck in this dynamic. Yeah,
so the really detrimental thing about this pattern is that this leads to the person not going in the direction of their soul's purpose. Because we are all here to manifest something into being, right? There is like this greater vision for our existence here. And if we don't follow the spark inside of us that tells us, now do this, now do that, now drop this, we will stagnate and we will never fulfill that purpose. Or that whatever that vision is, let's say. So, and that is quite frustrating for our soul journey, deep down, and we may even suppress that frustration. But this is where we are splitting ourselves off from ourselves further and further and further and further.
Yeah, our desire are also an indicator that can guide us and help us go in the direction of what we really want.
Yeah, and I actually think that a big reason why many people fall into this ego trap is the trauma of having been powerless in their childhood to get what they want. Yeah. So it was so painful to want anything because they couldn't have it. It was easier to deny it. It felt better to say, I don't want it. I don't want love. I don't want that hobby. I don't want that toy. Because it was so painful to want something and to be so far from it.
Yeah, or it could be in other session with clients that they really want something and their parents use it as a manipulation, as a leverage. So if they would really want a toy or something, their parents would withdraw their energy and tell them like, if you don't follow what I want, then I'm gonna take this toy away from you. Yeah.
Right, so it was vulnerable to want anything because that could be used against you.
Yeah.
So pay close attention to if any of this resonates with you, or if you can, with all your love, see this in somebody. Again, if you see these ego traps in someone, please try to be compassionate with that, because you have your own ego traps as well. They might not be the same ones as that person has. So try to help that person to see it in the most loving way. Not from a superior place. Again, that's another ego trap of like, oh, I see what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and usually with those, when people identify with those structure, it's very painful if you point it to them directly when it's not coming from a loving space. So please be aware not to hurt people in your community.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to also mention that there was a lot of programming that we might have from our childhood that is not related to like a specific traumatic event, but it might be these consistent messages that we got about wanting things. For example, things like don't complain, messages like don't be selfish, others have it worse than you.
Yeah.
If you want something, you're a burden, you're such a burden.
Other kids are starving somewhere else in the world. It's also a complaint I get myself.
Yeah, so be careful with this trap, and look into yourself. Is my not wanting anything? Is it truly being in true surrender with the one, being in so total harmony that you kind of just take inspired action without this craving?
Yeah, so maybe a good question would be how to differentiate between if you're in real loving surrender that's supporting your awakening, or if you are in a spiritual trap masquerading as awakening. How would you make a difference, find a difference?
I think it is if you actually are resisting wanting. If you have a aversion or resistance to needing or wanting or desiring. Because when you're in actual acceptance and surrender, you don't have a problem with that either. It's just like if a want or desire arises, you surrender to that too. As long as it's in alignment with the higher good and your own good, your own truth.
And integrity.
Yeah, but if you have a sense of resistance, sense of push away towards desire or judgment towards people
who have desire.
Yeah, who have desires, who dream big, for example.
Yeah.
That's an indicator. Because otherwise you would just be like in this state of like, oh, interesting manifestation. This person wants this thing. It would just be like this. Oh, interesting reality. Yeah. There would be no negative
or no charge.
No judgment. Yeah.
Well, maybe judgment, but not really charge or negativity towards people who have different desire.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we hope that this video helps you. This is quite a common one, so you might know. If you are in any spiritual circles, you probably have seen this one.
A lot.
So it's all about, what we think at least, is it's all about the journey of awakening is all about finding balance and discernment. So to not polarize ever, it's to be able to discern what is true and what isn't, what serves you and what doesn't, and find that middle path that does not polarize.
I like this.
All right, we're gonna go eat now because I'm super hungry, and see you in the next one.
Yeah, subscribe if you haven't, and share this video, and let us know if you had any experience like this. Love you guys.
Bye.